give us feedback on the assignment, on the discussions that your group had.
Thank you. I wish to welcome Enos Kaburu, who was our rapporteur, to share our points of discussions. Enos Kaburu, if you can hear me, take the floor, please.
Enoch?
Okay. From our discussion, this group one, the approaches that the county government and the national government can go by, whereby one suggestion was the national government should ensure that the feeding programs and other nutritional programs should be restarted once again in schools to ensure that the children are maintained in schools, because some of these cases are occurring when you find children away from schools. The second point was the very way the government approached the issue of ensuring there should be also aggressiveness with our administrative leaders and our local leaders in ensuring that there is child protection against the violence. So with that, we believe that, or we viewed it at the chiefs and the other local leaders, they championed the issue of ensuring that all children transited from class 8 to Form 1. The very way they can also champion this issue of child protection against the violence, and that can be a very good approach. We also point on the issue of reinforcing the juvenile services, whereby we believe that, or there was a view that it's somehow silent, because some of these services are very vital, and in case they are well restarted or they are well reinforced and very well our community educated on the availability of these services, it will help to cut or to reduce those cases, or rather to eradicate. There is also a point of funding the CBO and the FBOs to fight against this violence. At the same time, we viewed that the county government or the national government can fund the faith-based organizations, which can help in eradicating this vice. At the same time, there was a point on establishing centers whereby children can receive all the services under one roof. This means we can have multi-sectorial team under one roof or in one center, whereby these offices, whereby a child can come, report, and get access.
Enoch, unmute yourself and continue.
We also viewed that if the multi-sectorial team is hosted under one roof or in one center, the victims can easily report, and once they report, they will get a medic who can assess the situation, and in the same point, they can get an officer who can be able to help, even to arrest whoever is the culprit. And by so doing, we shall have helped the community to cut even the costs, which is now a problem in our rural areas, whereby you find some are fearing in case they engage in these cases, they end up losing a lot of money and they fail to get helped. At the same time, the last point was the issue of ensuring that the government has rolled down the programs that support positive parenting. Because with the positive parenting, we can eradicate these problems. Definitely, we have seen some of these issues are occurring back in our homes. So if we support, or the government support, or the county government support the positive parenting, definitely with the positive parenting, our children will be safe. So among other points, I think I beg to put off alert.
Thank you very much, Group 1. Did you agree on the timelines?
Hello?
We didn't get your timelines, but you can still email the timelines when do you want to see the government enacting all these recommendations that you have penned down? But we also...
Already,
yes.
According to our views, we understand that already our children are suffering in rural areas and back in our villages. So we were suggesting that such program establishment of the offices and the using of the officers, because they are already there, that can be done as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. We appreciate Group 1 for the good work that you have done. We also want to allow Group 5. The coordinator, please tell us how many points do you have, and if you can be able to pick if there is anything that Group 1 didn't mention, you can also mention it, but don't repeat the same thing that they have already mentioned. Group 5, please, the online one.
For Group 5, we have Mr. David Nyaga, who is going to give our points in summary form.
Thank you. We welcome David, please.
Okay, on Group 5, there are some points that we've discussed. The first one is that in any case of violence, there are some cases when they are reported to the court. Maybe you find that there are some cases that the parents have agreed with maybe the one that committed to deal with them at the village level. So it is maybe the government to check on how those cases will be followed so that the children can get their rights. And also maybe in the village levels, the village elders to be empowered so that bearing in mind that they are the one on the ground, so that they always have the access to the cases as soon as possible. So maybe they can be more empowered so that they can help the government. Number 3, we have also agreed that the government should also put in place a threshold or maybe the limits to which some cases violating the children's rights, or now they will be being dealt with. For example, the weight of the case will determine where it will be dealt with. And also, there's another point, the community maybe to come up with a strategy to help the parents to bring up their children well in order to avoid some cases, and also to be given the education on the moral rights. And also, the last point, the government to come up with forums on education, educating the parents on how to raise their children well and maybe morally upright, so that we may avoid some cases, and also maybe drop out of schools where we are finding that some will engage in bad activities. Those are our points.
Thank you very much. We appreciate. That was group number 5. We want to, I reserve the discretion of changing the order. I want to move to group 3 and 7, who are dealing with the educational institutions. If you can put through group 3, we want to welcome, tell us who is coordinator.
CARO, OKUTOYI, if you could tell us who the coordinator for group 3 was.
Okay. I think I'm the one who is going to present the points.
Thank you, CARO. Welcome.
Yeah. Our first point was providing child-friendly environment in our schools. And the second point, adapting culture of being positive rather than being negative all the times. We should always not report on the negative sides and not reporting on the positive sides in whatever things that happen in our schools. The third point, having guidance and counseling in our schools. In this, we should involve the team players, all the team players in our schools. Number 4, policies of ending violence against children abuse to be passed to our children through songs, poems, and also be written in all our schools. Point 5, children should be involved in policy making. Point 6, teachers to be role models in our schools. Formation of clubs in our schools and teach both boys and girls on this topic. The privacy of these children in our schools should be protected. Teachers and those working with our children to be trained on the topic. Spiritual guidance to all parties involved is encouraged. The children to be trained on confidential and safety reporting system on any form of violence. A research on this topic to be done and be reported. There is a form of violence that involves children against children, which is mostly caused by limited resources in our schools. To prevent this kind of violence, the children, enough resources should be provided in our schools, and the children should be trained on how to share the available resources in our school. We should all acknowledge that the children are being abused and take responsibility on the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CARO, for such a wonderful presentation and the work that you guys have done. Let's get to group number 7.
Group 7, Nessie, if you could let us know who's going to present for group number 7.
Good afternoon. I'm a member of group 7. I'm going to do the presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm Simon Tumaina. I'm going to present. Okay, well, for us, we use an approach that educational institutions are responsible for instilling both the technical and life skills, and the type of institution we identified as the early childhood development, the primary, the secondary, and the university level, and the type of violence children face under such institutions include sexual harassment, emotional abuses, and physical abuses. So the role of now the institution in preventing such violence against children, we enumerated like 10 points. I can start. Number 1, they provide a safe environment for learning. Number 2, provide guidance and counseling to children. They can also give psychosocial support. They can also develop a safety policy in relation to children, given that they are the custodian of those children. Number 5, they can create a value system through involving religious leaders, such that they come to do seminars and do the teachings and to inculcate values in those children. Number 6, we have they should ensure involvement of enforcement bodies in cases of child abuse, such that when a child is abused, go through an abuse, they can have the right channel to report. Number 7, create a partnership between parents, teachers, society, and government for effective handling of children, such that they are not mishandled. Number 8, providing support services to enable children to undertake their learning with ease. And number 9, involve learners in making decisions that affect them. And number 10, developing a value-based culture that value environment, human life, and being responsible citizen, given that the same children will grow to adulthood, and they also be able to handle other children, and they will be able to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the group, the good work that you have done. Ensure that your responses are emailed back to our brother Kefa, the one who sent the questions, to his email, or to the technical team that is working here to ensure that these responses are received. We want to move to group 4 and 8 that are dealing with the families. This is where It's very critical before we get into the last group. So group 4 and 8, let's start with group 4.
I am Father Faustin Wesonga.
Yes,
I was
brother.
coordinating group 4. And in short, before I call on Grace to make the presentation, the family is the bedrock of the society. And what we see in the society is a reflection of how the families are. That is in summary of what we came up with. And so we came up with a few things. I would request Sister Grace now what we can do to make our families truly families. Sister Grace, you are welcome.
Sister Grace, you're actually on air, please. Sister Grace, are you there?
Yes, members.
Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you. We are calling upon the parents to take up their responsibilities, their roles as parents, and not to delegate it to other people like teachers, maids, and so forth. And there is a need for the society to get back to educate parents on the matters parenting, because it seems that parents are now out to other activities rather than parenting. There is need for parents to provide the children with the basic needs like food, clothing, medical shelter, and so forth, because this is what is exposing our children to abuse when they lack these basic needs in the family. There is also a need to teach children morals, family values. Unfortunately, we are feeling that this has been left to the maids and the teachers. And if it's left especially to the maids, children will learn what the maids are doing, and parents lack their position, or rather their place in their children's life. The family has to reconcile itself, acknowledge the importance of each member, and stop the infights so as to avoid power struggle, hence allow an atmosphere conducive for their children to grow. We also need to look at children as beings who require respect and allowance to exercise their rights, of course, with some responsibility. There is a need for a strong parent-child relationship. Parents need to be capacity built on how to handle children in the event of domestic violence. There is also need to challenge the policy systems in our country, which have, for example, the issues delocalization, which had already separated the parents. We are calling for the policymakers to consider the families and encourage parents to be near each other as well as with their children for the purposes of bonding. So when policies are being done, to consider all those things. There is the issue of absentee parents, and we are calling upon the parents who are never available to their families to create a balanced timetable between work engagements and other activities and family time, which is very key. Parents and families need to get actively involved in programs that may be in their churches that are talking about violence against children, so that they can know how to address these things, and also teach the children to address these things, or rather these cases, without fear or hesitation. At the same time, parents need to discuss different forms of child abuse with their children to make them aware and empowered that when cases of abuse occur, they should not fear, they should report them immediately. We are discouraging boarding schooling at very early age, where the children are starting to board sometimes at the age of 8, 9. They are not even able to wash themselves, they cannot wash their clothes, and these are things which their parents are supposed to be doing for them. So at this early age, we encourage that every parent considers having their children day schooling rather than boarding. Then we're also challenging the government to do something on the curriculum. Of course, we are seeing it at the CBC, which has already started at the primary, where we need a flexed and relaxed curriculum minus grades competition. We need to involve children in decision making. For example, parents are shifting to a new house, prepare children in good time so that when we are shifting, they understand why. Again, sometimes Parents may bring so many visitors, relatives at home, and the children are not aware, to the point that children will be forced to share beds with strangers. And it is at that time that our children end up being abused. Law enforcers.
Are you there? I think there's a network issue on her end. Thank you very much for that detailed discussion on that particular topic. If we could move now to group number 8.
Group Job Kihima, if you are there, please let us know who's going to present for group 8.
Afternoon. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'll hand this over to Joshua. Joshua was a moderator for the day, so he'll give us our presentation. Thank you.
We welcome Joshua. Joshua on air now. You're welcome.
Thank
Joshua.
you very much.
All right. Hi. You're welcome.
Okay, for the group we were having, not to preempt what they said. Okay, point number 1, we were urging parents to befriend their children and to make it easy for their children to communicate to them on what's bugging them, on the issues that they are having. So the action step was the parents were to offer protection to their children and make them feel comfortable when they're around, so that they can be able to express what they're feeling and what really bugs them. So this action should be taken as soon as possible, because it's a crisis we are handling and it really needs an urgent intervention. The other one is we think families to take care of their children while they're still at home, and make them aware. The action step was we make them aware of the unsafe environment outside their homes. Also, this one is an urgent, it needs an urgent intervention. Also, point number 3 and the last one, I think this complements the point which was said earlier. We let children be children and not involve them in opportunities or labor, child labor. So the parents are to take responsibilities of providing and let children be children. So this also needs an urgent intervention. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joshua. We appreciate you and the entire team for the good work that you have done. We are moving now to group number 2 and 6. We have finished with the government. We've dealt with the educational sector. We've dealt with the families. Now we are to the people of the faith. We're dealing with the role of the religious institution in ensuring that violence against children is ended. Can you bring us group number 2?
Captain.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Captain Johnston Onyimbo from the Anglican Church of Kenya, Diocese of Southern Nyanza, Kisii area bishopric. And I'm representing group number 2. Our question was the role of the religious institutions in fighting violence against children. Point number 1, the churches or the religious institutions should introduce Bible study groups. And I hope when we talk about religious institutions, we are mainly talking about Christian religion. And we know that the common thing in Christian religion is the Bible. And the Bible is our manual. Therefore, each church should at least have a group discussion or a Bible study group that will enable the church to bring to control the children and instill the moral values in them through the Bible. Number two, sensitizing the community and the parents on the importance of safeguarding the rights of children. This can be done through posters, through flyers, and also meetings. The church is an important role in the community, and the voice of the church is always heard. Therefore, if the church talks about ending the violence against children, then the voice of the church will be heard. If the church speaks about this, then we can be sure that violence against children will end. Number four, giving more teachings on parenting to the congregation. I know that there are most pastors who are afraid of talking to their congregations because maybe they are not married, or maybe they have problems in their marriages and problems with their children. But I would like to encourage them to continue teaching on parenthood, because this is a call from God they received. Therefore, they should continue sensitizing the parents on their role, specifically on their role. Number five, sorry for that. Encourage parents to bring their children to church. That is very much important. We cannot, the church cannot talk about children when there are no children in church. So the parents must first be taught or told to bring their children to church. That is when the church will now play their role in teaching and instilling moral behavior in the children, and also protecting them, because the church cannot protect somebody who is not there. So the children must be brought first to church for the church to mentor them. Number six, the pastoral teams of the religious organizations should continuously check on the development of their Sunday school children. In most cases, most churches forget about their children when their services began. Wakati ibada inaanza, unapata watoto wametengwa, wameenda kwa rooms zingine, na watu wakubwa wanabaki kwa room nyingine wakiendelea na ibada. So I think the church should also ensure that the children are monitored on weekly basis. Let me say that, because we come to church every week. The church will ensure that they know what their children are being taught, and in fact, the teachers of the children should also be taught on how to teach children. Because if you don't know, if you have no knowledge about the child, then it is impossible to teach the child, because you don't understand what this child wants to understand or wants to hear. So the children must be taught by the right people. So that's what I mean by the pastoral team looking into the affairs of the children mostly. Number seven, the children should also be sensitized on the dangers of peer pressure and drug abuse. The Most Reverend Bishop Anthony Muheri has talked about drug abuse being one of the reasons why violence on children is increasing. So the children should be taught about peer pressure, what peer pressure is and what peer pressure can do to them. Then they should be also taught about drug abuse, on the effects of drug abuse. When they are taught maximally and properly, thoroughly on that, then they will be able to understand that drugs are not useful to them, and in fact they are very dangerous on their health. And peer pressure is also what can lead to drugs. So peer pressure should be first terminated before getting to much worse situations. Lastly, the church will provide mentorship programs for the children to keenly observe the growth and development of the young boys and girls. The boys and girls cannot grow without mentorship. Mentorship means leading by example, in my own understanding. And you don't have to be there always for the children you don't have to be there speaking to the children on a daily basis about their rights. But when you are there, acting as an example of good moral, of good behavior and Christian faith, then the children will see that. And one important thing about children that must be noted is that children do what they see. The scripture also talks about that. Jesus says in the book of Matthew that I do what my Father does. So that proves to us that children see what the elders who are supposed to be their parents do. If we mentor them in the right way, if we lead them in the right direction, then we can be sure that the children will move to the right direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We thank you. We want to move to the last group, group number 6. If there was anything, group number 6. Yes.
Silvia, if you could let us know who's going to present for group number 6.
Yes, thank you, Paula. Christine Ebei, please.
Christine, are you there?
Okay, I'm Christine Ebei from World Vision Kenya, from Turkana cluster. I'll be representing Group 6, the role of religious leaders on ending violence against children. Point number 1 is empower religious leaders to empower religious leaders in order to protect children. Point number 2 is to do a capacity building to religious leaders. The third point is to ensure that the church is the cheapest avenue of offering counseling to the community. That's why most people who are into church are not vulnerable. So point number 4 is empower the parents and also empower the children to be able to know their rights.
Thank you, Christian, and the team for your participation. And I want to thank the online participants for the good work that you have done. We are now moving to the hall here, the physical meetings. We want also to ask the online team to stay online as they also listen. In the interest of time, we want to have 8 people presenting the most important point among the points that they listed, so that we can finish in about 3 to 5 minutes time. Let's start in that order. We have group 1 and 5. Where are you? Group 1 and 5. We can ask the rapporteurs, please, to come. Group 1 and 5. Just pick one point out of many, because we have listened to the online presenters. You're welcome. You tell us your name.
Thank you. My name's thank you. My name's Jared Kataka, presenting group number 1. I think most of the areas we had put down has been presented, but there's one area that I'd like to mention here, which has not been mentioned. We talked about the government to be able to map the prone areas where we have the abuse of children, and more specific, we are looking at the slum areas, which you need to map most of the area that we have this problem. And this should be enacted by both the national and the county government, and we say that it should be as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. We appreciate. I can have the paper. Thank you. Group number 7 or 5, sorry. Group number 5.
Group number 5 was discussing on the roles, actions, and timelines for national government and the county governments in ending violence against children. We came up with 6 points, but the most important point here is that the government should facilitate free medical services to victims of violence against children. Our timelines was to be immediately.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you and your team. Now let's move to group number, the same order that we went online. Group number 3 on the educational institution. 3 and number 7. Where are you? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Lucy Ndong. To add on to what the online team has said on group number 3 and 7, the role of educational institutions, we came up with 8. I'm only going to pick one that maybe I have not heard from the others, to say that educational institutions have a right not just to educate the children, but also the parents on child protection policies through continuous education forums, sensitization, and also come out clearly on the role of parents in raising children so that there's no delegation of roles. Thank you. And continuously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sister. Thank you. Number 7.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm Brother Elijah Aguilo, representing Catholic Private Educational Institutions Association, CAPEIA. The point I would like to put across is sensitization of the community and the school community and the community where the school is located on the dangers of VAC. And this can be done through seminars, workshops, conferences, and in the digital world we have also a webinar and other management systems that we have like Zoom, Teams, etc. This one can be conducted quarterly. That's what we suggested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you and your team. We want to move to group number 4 and 8 that was also dealing with the families. Group number 4 and 8. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Rev Bernard Mb. I'm representing group 4. We're handling a timeline for families. So all our points are very momentous. Allow me just to pick the last one. All of them are very important national points. So allow me just to pick the last one, and that is self-care. Our thoughts were some of the ways that the families, include the parents, can contribute towards this is by self-care. That is probably by attending seminars that are helpful, attending counseling sessions, because we realize that at times when parents don't attend counseling sessions, wherever they are going through, they tend to pelt the same on the children, and so it increases the violence. And then by building awareness, first is for themselves, and number 2 for their children, number 3 for their family members, and also lastly and specifically for the domestic helpers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you and the group. Number 8 now.
Thank you, moderator. Group number 8 was on families. My name is Muvan Weliro. I will only highlight on one because the rest have captured what we had. We urge that the government should redefine the children's rights because mostly it's disguised as violence instead of discipline. And then we should put the timelines. We said it should be immediate and ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish we had enough time to allow each and every one of us to give your input, but I want to appreciate in a sincere way for your contributions in your groups. I have not consulted on this, but I'll only request that in case you may need all these responses, you can drop an email to either Imelda or to Kefa or to the technical team once they have been put together so that you can be able to get the responses from each group. On behalf of the entire team, the organizers of the event, I want to thank each and every one of you most sincerely. Which group is that? Group number 6. Didn't present. 2 and 6. All right. 2 and 6, they were presenting on religious institutions, isn't it? Oh, great. Please come. Please come, 2 and 6. My apologies. My sincere apologies. My sincere apologies. Let's have group number 6.